All you need is a username, email, and password, and you're set to go. It's as simple as that. The email address is simply pirate1radio@protonmail.com. That's so that we, of course, can receive any of your PayPal donations that happen to come our way, along with any potential show ideas or guests you happen to have in mind. We are booked right now, probably up to around, it looks like August, maybe even September. But we do welcome all ideas you have. Most of what people do pitch us, frankly, we take on board. So there's not too many ideas we shoot down or turn away, because there's just so many interesting people out there with so many interesting stories, is what I find, and that's the decision that I've got to make as someone who works to produce the show. Summer solstice was just a couple days ago. Let's take note of that. Hope everyone enjoyed themselves. June 21st. Yes, indeed. I remember back in Canada years ago, I would often, if I could, take a little time off from the tree planting season and get out and do what I could to engage myself via the regional folk music festival circuit. That always been a lot of fun, of course, a lot of great people, a lot of great happenings, a lot of great campfire music late at night as well, too, as I recall. So good times, good memories, good people. Unfortunately, that hasn't, I haven't had the opportunity to experience that sort of thing in quite a few years. Not since, let's see now, about 2007. And as far as that goes, I'm not sure if I ever will have the opportunity to. Not in this lifetime, at least. Maybe some future form. Quite possible. Who really knows? I guess we'll just see. So, we had Katie Kamara on this past week as well, too, let's not forget. And just a quick note that we did make here. We are able to offer you 10% discount on any of her publications, any of the books, items that she has available that you'd like to get your hands onto, or into your hands. Just let her know 2 simple words, either pirate radio or pirate code. That typically manages to do the trick, and you'll receive an instant automatic 10% discount. We've also recently managed to pass the 900 member subscription level via YouTube, so that's quite a milestone and a threshold. Very much appreciate the support that we've picked up via the wider public, of course, people who reckon that what we have to offer here is worth their support, worth their effort, and clicking the subscribe button. Of course, don't forget to check back from time to time and see that you still are subscribed. There have been some issues in the past with people losing their subscription status for whatever reason, just simply being, well, who knows, one of those sort of YouTube type glitches. Might it be an intentional phenomenon? That could be something as well too. Should never rule that sort of thing out. As much as those who work from behind the scenes to have us believe that, oh, that could not simply be the case, when in fact it sometimes actually is. So always, I would suggest and recommend, not that you necessarily need me to draw this to your attention, but yes, within the realm of possibility, in true classic Sherlock Holmesian fashion, once everything that you've eliminated from the realm or list of possibilities have been ruled out, all that remains is definitely on the table and a possibility as far as what the answer might be regarding who could it be, what could be behind whatever possible state of affairs one happens to be dealing with. So keep calm and join minds.com. Yes, seeing that appear now in the slideshow here. So definitely always a good reminder. That's something I think that Reverend Jim has done. Actually, that's where he and I met. We crossed paths a couple years ago now. So you remain a supporter, booster of sorts of minds.com, Jim. How much so would you say that is? You've been watching things evolve, of course, here over the last little while. Are things improving for the better or not? What would you say?
Well, I started on Minds back when they were still in beta, and I actually liked the beta version better than what they actually came out with. And the changes they've made, some are a little better, others I don't like at all. I liked when you wanted to post something, I liked how it used to be. The new way they got us posting sucks. It's more like the way MeWe has their setup, and I hate the way what you have to do to post on MeWe. Otherwise, MeWe's a decent site, but it's got a few flaws. What Minds have done recently is, so like I said, some of it's good, some of it I don't like. But no, I'll stay on Minds. I like the fact that I can say what I want as long as I'm not threatening, or saying out and out lies. I've gotten away with saying anything I want as far as I can tell. Some things, when I boost certain posts or articles, they don't seem to get the coverage as fast as others. But is that shadow banning? I don't really know. It may be that there weren't that many people online that day. Because there have been days when I boosted a post and within the next day, 1,000 people had seen it. So I don't know. It's so hard to tell when you're just a peon using a site what's really going on behind the scenes. Now, granted, Minds is open source, and if you're a coder and all that good stuff, you can get in there and see some of what's going on behind the lines. But that is not me. I don't have those skills. I'm barely able to get my OBS to to stream for me. But no, I like Minds. I wish they'd kind of talk to the people a little more before they make these changes. But you gotta just deal with it. I guess that's the way I'm looking at it. Is I'm just going to deal with it until they come up with something better. I've got a page on BitChute, or not BitChute, but Brighteon, but I've yet to be able to get one of my videos posted to Brighteon. Granted, it's been a while, but before, their format only accepted a few things, and that you couldn't download directly from your channel on YouTube.
You know, where Stallone
to
actually
Brighteon, so that was a pain in the ass. So yeah, I actually haven't really used my Brighteon page, and I got that back when they were invite only too. So basically, I'm on 3 sites. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Minds, and I'm on DLive. I have a YouTube page I don't use. Haven't used it in years. And I got a Gab, but I don't use it. I've got an LO page, but no, I don't go to LO. I even got the LO back when they were in invite. Interesting. Anyway, let's get on with the show. There's breaking news. The governor of the state of Washington has just ordered that masks are now mandatory everywhere for everyone. So I immediately went out shopping without a mask. There ain't no friggin' way I'm not wearing a mask. You can't make me. It's BS. Whether or not there's a virus out there, I don't care. I don't care about the flu. I don't care about Ebola. I used to. I don't. Wearing a mask isn't going to do a damn thing. All this social distancing isn't going to do a damn thing. All it does is weaken your immune system. Eat proper, get rest, get sunlight. Don't worry about it. That's called staying healthy. Did I lose you, Japhy?
Oh, no. I was actually here just enjoying the first half of my sandwich, thinking of some witty line I might be able to come up with here regarding hearing it here once again right off the top of the show via the man who's been compared to the next young Sean Hannity. That came, I guess, I thought they were talking about me actually last week, but it turns out that was you, so that was a bit of a blow to my ego.
I was starting out, and yeah.
No, that's.
When she said that, I was quite honored. I was, consider I'm older than he is. I must have a young-sounding voice. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. But I thought that was pretty funny, actually. It was pretty good. So. And isn't it something that mandatory declarations, once again, government mind control, folks. Okay, if you weren't aware, just you are now, hopefully. Govern mente. Govern is to control, mente is the mind. It's a total mind fuck. And that's the reason we hashtag this week's show NWO. We'll probably continue to do that. WPRPN. COVID 1984 NWO, those 3 hashtags repeatedly is where I see things going here, for the time being at least. It's utterly pathetic. There's not much good I frankly can say about things. The reason we hashtag this week's show NWO, we'll probably continue to do that. More of a chance of being struck by lightning than they do being coming down with the coronavirus and dying, or even I think was it put even just coming down with the coronavirus, possibly dying. But either way, it's just, people. That's the problem. People who live in fear. People who go around constantly living in fear of every little thing that there could be that happens to come up or that is said to exist. And the government loves this shit. They love it. They love to use that as a means of manipulating people, of instilling their minds with fear, poisoning, really. And it's just a reflection. First of all, there's a war. People talk about, I couldn't believe it, James Corbett the other day asking, the question, what will World War III look like? I mean, and usually I agree with James. His analysis is great. He's a super smart individual, obviously. And him, though, and even the likes of Alex Jones, they're all hung up on this business of waiting for World War III. Kaiser Japhy really did make his point clear. I believe it was him, as I recall. Once again, we'll have to have him back on the show here at some point to get us up to speed and set us straight if in fact we get us up to speed and set us straight if in fact we are not clear in recalling what he said. But that was the Cold War. World War III was the Cold War. And where we're at right now, I mean, following September 11th, that was the Hegelian dialectical incident, really, orchestrated via who knows where exactly, but all you have to do, frankly, is look at the PNAC documents, Project for a New American Century, the New Pearl Harbor. They got their Christmas wish early that year in a big way. Unfortunately, it cost the lives of several thousand people. Yet, as was well understood from the get-go, that it would work to trigger a chain of events which would work in a way that could help to further their broader political agenda. And we've seen that now as it's impacted the entire world, frankly, not only with the overt warfare in the Middle East, but also the attack on freedoms and liberties. How convenient is that? Much in the way that COVID has been structured and orchestrated. But also with the influx of Middle Easterners, because, hey, the only reason that they're having to come to the West is because a lot of people say, we went over there and bombed the hell out of their towns and cities, the places that they live. Well, last time I checked, I don't recall myself having any direct hand in going over and killing anybody. I could have signed on for things. I had looked into joining the reserves, actually Canadian reserves, around that time. Had no interest because I could see right from the get-go the plan was to occupy the Middle East, and as far as I was concerned, that was a little more than a new crusade of sorts, really. Something that George Bush let slip on one occasion, quite famously, as some of you may recall, and his handlers, his minders around him, immediately did what they could to shush him down, or to ensure that he did what he could to correct himself, as it were, letting the cat out of the bag. But yes, in conjunction with the Kalergi plan, the way that so many people from the Middle East, Muslim, with respect to their religion, Muslim, Islamic, being brought to the West, all on the pretext and justification, the grounds of, well, it's only because, once again, air quotes now, folks, we went over there and bombed the hell out of their towns, villages, cities, and the like. But the whole thing is nonsense, of course, because that was the plan right from the start, of course. And that one thing would lead to the next. Problem, reaction, solution, thesis, antithesis, synthesis in classic Hegelian fashion. It's really not that complicated. If you look at it, follow the chess pieces on the board as they make their moves, and at the same time try to lead us to believe as if it's all just random chaos. That there's no guiding or central intelligence, if you'll excuse the pun, behind what we see taking place, manifesting in the material world. So, yes, indeed, COVID-19, though, not much difference whatsoever. It's all very much the same. And you look at the number of billionaires who are being enriched. It's off the scales. Has anyone else out there been following this? Picking up on this in the news? Whereas you've got, what is it now? 1.5 million Americans having to now apply for some sort of welfare of sorts, really state-sponsored support to help them manage to pay their bills because they've been thrown out of work. Some people doing well, not just the billionaires, but others as well too. Although it is important to take note of the billionaire class. Once again, are we just to believe that this is all simply a coincidence that they are chalking up record profits, or is there perhaps a little more to this whole business? Mirrodin Y-Lift, we're going to give you a shout out. On the Fence with Musa, Reverend Jim, of course, Nori Love, our matey. Yes, Nori, always great to have you drop by. In fact, I don't know if you happen to feel that you're interested in being a part of the news conversation, let us know and we'll happily bring you on board. In fact, if there's anyone out there, preferably sober, we've had issues in the past with people who've been under the influence, mostly of alcohol, and it's not the most pleasurable experience, I find, or not the best way to put together our live streaming content. If you want to listen in that state of mind, that's fine, of course. But calling in or contacting us here via Skype, my ID simply Japhy.Ryder89. Japhy.Ryder89. Shoot me a message and we can set something up. But yes, once again, On the Fence with Musa, Nori Love, Barbecue Jim, Reverend Jim, Choco Smoke. Hey, Choco Smoke dropping by on D-Live, and I'm not sure if they actually sent us a little bit of a donation or not. I know Reverend Jim has been helping us out in a big way, multitude of fronts here, so that's very much appreciated. Just trying to keep an eye on things here. I'm going to come back to you, Mirrodin Wylet. You've got a few thoughts to offer here regarding mines, which I think are worth commenting on. So, saying mines has not aged well, throttling, shadow banning, non-accountability, little difference than Facebook. I think they're shadow banning. They also blocked boosts at times. I witnessed that directly. Unconstitutional? Question mark. Yeah, exactly. I think he's talking about masks. Masks are for bacteria. They do nothing, next to nothing for coronavirus. And then finally at the bottom here, saying how Larry Silverstein, right after 9/11, largest insurance payout in U.S. history. Yeah, good old Larry. So they decided to pull it. Just pull it. Silverstein. How about that? What a crook and smooth, well, not so smooth, really talking psychopath that guy is. I wonder, can we get libel or slander for saying such a thing? Bring it on. Not an issue there. So, don't know, Reverend Jim, if you see much else taking place out there via the wider landscape where we happen to be, of course, this week sailing out once again upon these high, often all too intrepid digital waters. But did you get a copy of the talking points via the Skype chat just prior to us going live? I did share something there with you.
No, that's my bad. I didn't pull that up yet. Right now we got three listeners on my channel, or 3 viewers watching on my channel here on DLive, and checking YouTube. I don't see a whole lot of activity over here yet, and I don't have the Facebook up yet. I'm all sorts of discombobulated. But yeah, I think that's par for the course, isn't it?
We got 15 people, 16 now is what I'm seeing here. 8 people,
Excellent.
Yeah, supposedly over on YouTube. 3 via.
We got JB Wells the Third over on Facebook.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, Princess
And,
JB Wells.
Meriden Wilt. I think I'm.
Well, yeah,
pronouncing that right.
They've been leaving a lot of comments over on Facebook. It's good. Finally, we're seeing some action here via the Restream platform where they're actually managing to pick up the comments, and we are getting that here in the feed. Now, one thing I will say is that I just went back actually to check out our numbers on Restream, and then revisit where the live chat was, and everything automatically at that point becomes erased. All the comments are gone. They're still out there on YouTube and elsewhere as well, but it's just one of those things. For anyone who's ever put a live stream together, they might know what I'm talking about. Just in the process right now as well too, as we speak, of unplugging the phone, something I forgot to do. Usually I remember to take this, get this taken care of before we go live, but hey, not this go around. Let me just remind people too that we have got, oh, there's the Donald Trump meme that pirate Joe Emanon thought was really funny. I'm a whiny little bitch. Check that out, folks. That's a good one, isn't that? That's quite laughable. That'll probably be coming back around here in just a couple minutes. But let me see now. What was I going to say? Oh, yes, we have a new sponsor on board. The CanaSense Collective, actually. We recently picked up a couple basically little, I'm not sure if you call them tins or not, but basically product items, salve of sorts, a balm that one can apply to their body, CBD. And I've tried it already once here since receiving these items just a couple days ago, and had the wife apply some to my lower back because of these chronic back issues, and yeah, it seemed to work quite nicely. Things heated up down there, and there's a soothing effect, and it was really great. So that, in conjunction with this regularly prescribed pain medication, which I'm not too happy with. I prefer more to have health freedom rather than the fascism we have to contend with here in this country, South Korea in particular. But what can one do? I'll have more to say about this whole business here shortly as well. But just first, let me say, yeah, we're going to work on running, hopefully if we can, not only just giving them a shout out, CannaSense that is, but also a bit of an ad perhaps too at some point. Daniel Lewis Crumpton is our guy. He helped to hook us up there on that front. We got a few more items, including the bath salts that we received this go round, and a kind of like an eyedropper product where you use that for sleep. It helps calm you basically before going to sleep. It's recommended that you take what is it now? A couple vial. The eyedroppers. I think they want you to take two full eyedroppers of this product and just down it essentially. I took just a quarter of what they recommended, so half of one dropper full, and mixed that in some water the other night, knocked it back, and slept quite soundly actually. So I'm only going to turn to this as a means of self-medicating, and there is no narcotic effect to this whatsoever either, by the way, just to let people know. It's more just a relaxing, soothing effect. All kinds of great natural ingredients, including hemp, but I'd have to go get the list actually. It seems to be more just a standard, typical, natural approach to doing things, with the herbal extracts and the like being a part of what they've put together in working to help people who, all of us suffer to one degree or another, some more intensely than others on a day-to-day routine basis, and so that's why they are there and making their items available. Look at that, the Trump face I just noticed in the slideshow morphed into some guy with a beard and glasses. Not sure who that is. He looks rather professorial though, but and it's back to Trump. Wow, it's like slideshow magic. Incredible. So yeah, CannaSense, good stuff. Anything more you'd like to add to that, Reverend Jim?
Oh, CBD oils, tinctures, and whatnot, they are excellent. They are a godsend. And yeah, they're non-habit forming. There's no narcotic in it. There are, what is it, 0.03, I think it is, or something like that, or 0.3% THC. So it's so minimal. It shouldn't even be worried about. Although I do know a company that makes a hemp-free CBD oil, because cannabis isn't the only plant that has CBD in it. You can find it in citrus and you can find it in pine, and it can be extracted from both. And I know a company that does that. But yeah, I love CBD oil. I even have CBD oil for my cat. The company I know makes a CBD oil for cats and a CBD oil for dogs. And well, my cat's 13 years old now, and the owner of the company has had cats live 19 and 20 years. So she knows what she's doing. It's good stuff. Good stuff. It should be legal the whole world over. Matter of fact, the whole plant should be decriminalized. There should be no laws on cannabis or hemp. It should be like tomato plants. If you want to grow it and use it, grow it and use it. If you want to buy it, find somebody selling it and buy it. There should, this criminalization of it in any way, shape, or form is unconstitutional. It's a violation of human rights. God gave us that plant. No government should have the right to say, oh, you can't use that, or oh, you can only limit use of that. Oh, you can't do that. No, that's not their friggin' right.
They seem to have taken upon themselves over the past nearly 3/4 of a century to do exactly that, unfortunately. And once again, it's just like what we're seeing with this phony, Corona apocalypse. The same actors up to their same shenanigans, doing what they can to cash in on whatever front, to maintain a totally concocted. And see, the thing is, I think their plan fell short of the mark. It just all fizzled out. Yet, because they'd hoped and aimed for having a lot more people die, for that the virus to be more effective, essentially. At the same time, they have to do what they can to maintain face and to promote the fear agenda, mostly to see how they can control the mass population of the world, and B, how people will react in the future, and what essentially within the context I'm guessing is going to be next year's COVID hysteria, COVID 20. That's what people can look forward to. Although presumably if it's the same issue that we're dealing with, that it will have mutated much in the same way we saw things mutate with the during the Spanish influenza of 1918, to which you had a few interesting things to say, Jim. And once again, let's not forget, there's it would be, I think, rash, foolish to rule out the possibility of yet another new virus of sorts being introduced into the mix, just for fun and to see where things could potentially lead. But, I think we really are a minority. The people who are awake, if you want to call them woke, if you want to call them red-pilled, if you want to just call them awake, it doesn't matter to me. It's all the same thing. Once again, you've heard it here before, myself talk about how this woke business is just for the left, red-pilled is just for the right. That is more of the social engineering, programming, weaponization of language that the powers that be are trying to use to essentially promote identity politics agenda. I was just listening to a brief segment, as a matter of fact, last night as I was coming back from out of town. I got a new job. It's not the greatest, but it's a few doubloons that I'm able to rustle up here. So I'll take it for now. But I was totally wiped out last night as well. It's not too often you see me get to sleep and crash out before midnight. I prefer to enjoy my multimedia movies, documentaries that we archive here on board the ship's digital library. But last night, not a chance, man. I was, after the whole the bus journey and the work end of things, it was a 7-hour round trip altogether, which in the end, if you want to look at it, left me banking maybe around $10 an hour, a little more than that, which in a Western context, I mean, Christ, what do they have? The minimum wage now is what, $15 or something like that in Washington State, Jim? What's the deal there exactly? It's around that, isn't it?
Yeah, they're trying. Certain places it's $15 an hour. Other places it's not 15. But Washington's always had a higher minimum wage than the rest of the states for the most part. But nobody's working now. There's hardly, it doesn't matter if it's $15 an hour when you're not working any hours.
Yeah, a little different here in South Korea. A little different. People staying relatively busy. I talked to the kids the other day, asking them if their parents are having to stay home, not going to work, and they seem to say that no, they're going to work and doing their regular schedule and routine and whatnot. But on the bus, I mean, one of the bus drivers nearly, completely lost it when he saw me getting on the bus without a mask. and it's because they have these rules in place, and it's interesting too. I saw a number of people on the bus who they'd pull the mask down so it'd be on their top lip, basically, still breathing through their noses. And the bus driver didn't seem to make much of an issue over that. And that's that's how I'm going to continue doing things. Out in public, never wearing a mask. Are you kidding me? There's one local academy where they do what they can to enforce that as strictly as possible. But because we're working within the capacity of language instruction, it's utterly ridiculous to have your students speaking through masks and to have the teacher doing the same. You can't see. First of all, you can't hear very well. Secondly, you can't see how they're forming the shape of what they're trying to enunciate, and they can't see me either, which is really critical, because with the English native speakers, as we are known here, that's really important. They have to study the shape and structure of the language as it is spoken, and when I do that, I exaggerate, of course, just to give them an idea of what they should be, shooting for, and then I, of course, then pull back and say it again in a less over-the-top and theatrical manner. So, but there's other places where I work too where it's not a big deal. Like today, I'm after the show, I'll be going to another gig where, thank God. The kids, I asked them, why are you wearing these masks? And, at all ages, I asked them, why are you wearing these masks? Corona. It's like, oh, okay. And how much do we have here in our hometown community? And it's like, well, 1, then there's 3, then 0. It's like, okay. How much regular flu do we have? Silence. No idea. How many people die every year in Korea from regular flu? Silence. No idea. And this is not only kids all the way up to teenagers, it's up to adults as well too. Regular, everyday citizens. 95, maybe as much as 99% of Koreans have no bloody idea about regular annual flu deaths. Right across the board, it is this whole business of what Orwell talked about. Ignorance is strength. And this country, it's most definite. Ignorance is strength. They don't want to know. For the most part, they don't care. All they want is to be told what to do, how to think, who to support, what to like, those sort of things. That's largely what it seems. And just to finish here, talking about how we are the minority, people who stop and ask questions, whether you're Westerners or Koreans or whoever. There's a small number of Koreans who are kind of awake, as it were. Very few, though, unfortunately. We're doing what we can here to change that, if we can manage, but it is an uphill struggle, of course. But the numbers that our show, for example, picks up, maybe 100 over the course of a week or so, the news shows. Jordan Maxwell was a little different because, that guy brings it. He's a big name, and it's a different deal where it's like you really open the floodgates. I think what we did there with him a couple weeks ago has got about 1,000 views already. Hopefully YouTube doesn't take it down like they did with our Michael E. Jones interview. At least what he ripped off of our channel, the 1 hour simply, he imported it to his channel, and it had up to almost 15,000, maybe I think as much as 20,000 views within about 2 weeks. They took it offline, and that was like huge for us because that encompassed almost really more than what we had managed to pick up over the course of the 4 years that we'd already been in place in its entirety here with the project we've been working on. So, but with the numbers, bloody hell! Now I lost that. There's another point. Jim, jump in there. I'll see if I can circle back and remember. There's another little point I was going to throw in there to the mix, but. You go ahead. And actually, but hang on. Before we do that, shout out to Pirate Larry. Do we have Pirate Larry here? Oh, by God, we do. Piratas de Dios. I just saw Jennifer Knight. Hey, that's awesome. Let's see if Pirate Larry wants to come on board. Hey, he'd be great to have. You're welcome, there, Larry, to drop in for the news. If you're hip to that idea, if you're feeling. Up to it. I know we've been talking about how you've been undergoing your, I guess it's chemotherapy over the past number of weeks. It's got to be a tough slog. So, yeah, Jennifer Knight, Piratas de Dios, and Sean, American Patriot, talking about how he just found our channel via our interview with Michael Van Dieven from 2 years ago. Far out, Sean. Let's be sure to hook up with us via Facebook and, preferably places like minds.com as well. We'd be interested in hearing more, though, about your Michael Van Dieven stories and so forth, even to the point where let's have him back on the show. I'm open to that idea. He was one of the last people ever, in fact, maybe even the last person to ever formally interview Art Bell. Believe it or not, Michael Van Dieven was. So we'll leave things there. See if I can circle back to that earlier point that just kind of fell by the wayside. Jim, jump in. Go ahead.
Well, like you were saying with the math and trying to teach your students English, could you imagine trying to teach Helen Keller? I mean, if you ever watched the story of how they taught her to speak, they used her hands on the teacher's mouth to show her how to form the words and the vibrations that are formed in speaking. You couldn't do that with a mask on. She couldn't properly have felt the form of the mouth and where the tongue is. And so, yeah, these masks are totally ridiculous. That was one thing. The other thing was getting back to where you said the virus didn't seem to kill as many people as they want. That brings to mind to me that we are in a battle of good and evil. God versus Satan, if that's what you want to call it. Same as Israel was not capable of sinking the USS Liberty, even though that ship should have sank. It didn't. Why? God didn't want it to sink. This virus, or whatever it is that they released, and no one's talking about the fact that there was a mass vaccine distribution in China in November before all these deaths started to happen. Same thing in Italy, where this year they've increased, or this last flu season, they increased the strength of the flu vaccine they were giving the elderly, because elderly people's immune system doesn't respond the same as the young, so they upped the strength of the vaccine, and lo and behold, all these deaths starts happening. And they blame it on this coronavirus, which Dr. Fauci had been working on coronavirus and flu vaccines for the last 5 years, if you do any of the research. So if you've had a flu vaccine in the last 5 years, you will probably test positive for the coronavirus. If you haven't had a flu vaccine like me in over 20 years, you will probably test negative for it. So other than that, I don't know if that gets you back to where you were thinking. I know I threw everything off, but I wanted to get those 2 points in. We are in a battle of evil and good, and good's gonna win. In the end, good's gonna win, but evil gets so damn far every time before they get shut back down. God's got a plan. They've got a plan. I put my trust in God. Sorry if that threw the show for
No, that's fine. It's you're here freely able, as you know, all the people we've had on the past, Mr. Anderson, Pirate Larry, of course, all the guests we've had, even, you know, Pirate Joe Emanon, you know, you name it. Just, that's the whole point, is you're pretty much free to say whatever you want, and that we don't expect to necessarily be on the same page with everyone all the time. That totally goes against the whole point of what this world is really about in all of its diversity. Because I don't know about this. It's tough, the good versus evil business. You know, Buddhists, Hindus, and people from the Eastern who see the world through the Eastern philosophical lenses tend to look at things more as being a case of clarity versus confusion. So clarity being good, naturally, confusion being bad. But you know, there's a lot of mischievous, very malicious, and naughty things that take place within the context of under the guise of confusion, where people have the wool pulled over their eyes endlessly. So these false negatives, though, definitely do concern me. I'm not sure. I think that's part of what you're going on about, or at least kind of touching on more or less one of the related angle, hopefully. But the business of ventilators, for example, now, there's no bloody way I'd want to be on a ventilator. Are you kidding me? And just endless numbers of seeing now nurses come out and having to mostly hide their identities because of the fear of political backlash, and right up to the point of being thrown out of their, you know, running the risk of losing their jobs because of their politically incorrect stance or approach to things, unfortunately. So there's just so much to talk about here, really, and we're not even looking at, you know, we got a lot to get to as far as talking points are concerned. We have somebody out here listing, Mirrodin Wylet, as a matter of fact, who is, it looks like, expressing an interest in joining us here shortly. So we will see if that turns out to be the case or not. If they send us a Skype request, that's all we really need. We can bring you on board. But right now we're not seeing anything. So once again, Pirate Larry, if you're feeling up to it, more than welcome as well. Just let us know here via Skype, and we can do what we can to accommodate you, bring you into the conversation. Of course, yeah, he's somebody who's been dealing with some pretty serious and sudden, frankly, right out of the blue health issues. Although it's one of those things too, I'd imagine, where I think so many of us can relate to, that if we look back at these nagging aches and pains and maybe little, you know, twinges in our bodies, listen to your body talk. Was it Sheena Easton? Body talk, listen to my wasn't that Sheena Easton, Jim? I think she did that one. So, and that's true. Women are a lot better at it than
that's
men.
a good song too.
Well, and it makes sense from a medical standpoint. You have to listen to your body talk, or it's going to lead to an early demise, is my guess. But something I've been trying to focus on as of late. Definitely have some little things creeping up here.
The best advice I've learned that let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. Your health truly starts in your gut with your gut biome. If your gut biome is messed up, and GMO foods, the glyphosate that's covering everything, they're spraying Roundup. I'm convinced they're spraying Roundup in the sky, because it's even showing up, glyphosate's showing up in organic foods from organic farms, where even the neighbors are organic farms, so they're not getting spray by the neighbors, which is what the excuse they give. I think they're spraying it in the air. It screws up the gut biome, and that is the basis of all your health. If your gut biome is messed up, your body can't process things, it can't remove the toxins that it normally would, and the toxins build up and you become sick. The best way to get your gut biome back is fermented vegetables. Korean kimchi, excellent source of pro and prebiotics, gets the gut biome back. If you don't like how spicy most kimchi is, go with the natural fermented sauerkraut or just about any other fermented vegetable, and that gets your gut biome back, and you can start your health process from there.
It's interesting you mentioned kimchi. I did read actually a summary analysis of a medical research paper, inquiry that had been embarked upon a number of years ago by a handful of Korean doctors, as a matter of fact. And as I recall, it's one of the reasons Korea has, because of the overconsumption of kimchi, there's something going on where, too much of anything is not a good thing, as the old saying goes, especially where your diet is concerned, the impact on your stomach. And your stomach it's the most sensitive part of your body, apparently. But yeah, that they said it was one of the primary factors they had concluded in contributing to stomach cancer with Koreans. So people can further look into this, investigate things on their own, see if they can come up with something. I can't quite find the link right now off the top of my head. All I can do is relay to you what I recall them having themselves put together a number of years ago. So that does remind me, if there are any listeners out there, people who are Koreans themselves, or have friends who are Korean, whose English is, reasonably decent, send them our email address, pirate1radio@protonmail.com. If they have an interesting story to share, or would like to engage in some form of quality conversation, that's how they are able to reach out to us and establish contact so that we can take things to the next level, of course. Just doing what we can here right now. Looks like we have got, for people out there who are via Facebook who are wanting to join, yeah, it's through Skype that you can do that. Japhy.Ryder89. Japhy Ryder 89 is my handle here on Skype. We're not talking, live streaming via Facebook. Rather, it is Skype only. Thankfully, with the Restream technology on board, we have Facebook, YouTube, and D Live all working together essentially at the same time, simultaneously, along with the fact that we have 3 other syndicators helping support us at this particular moment, as has been the case for the past number of months. And we very much appreciate that, because it does help us to reach a larger audience, people who potentially can become Patreon supporters, or folks who end up sending us a little bit of love via PayPal, or even over on minds.com, of course. But or guests as well too. And let's not forget, if you can't help us out in a monetary manner, that every time you share those links or leave comments, likes, or what have you, sometimes maybe the things we put out there don't warrant any likes. Although on via minds.com, that does go it does go considerably further than what you find over via fake book. Unfortunately, you're actually credited for your taking the time to like content, an item via Minds that has been published, or putting your own story out there, blog or what have you, even just posting a picture or a YouTube link. So that's really, really great the way they've got things in place there. Although, going back once again to YouTube here, and we're just going to try to track him down, our character, this new personality and individual, Mirrodin Wilt. I'm not sure if that's a pseudonym, or looks like almost an RPG character name. But yeah, you would have to join us via Skype, not Facebook. Jennifer Knight, that's twice now. Images of Phil Hendry. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I had a dream about him last night too. I met him in the dream and said straight up, and he wasn't happy to hear this, of course, as you can imagine. But yeah, Phil, love the comedy. Hope you stick to it. You know, keep working on that. It's great to hear good quality material. Your politics, not so much at all. He's just a terrible. He's just so extreme and radical. Total, Trump derangement syndrome, which it's really just amazing. So, and a total leftist type love fest, no questions asked. So, but as far as his comedy goes, yeah, great stuff. And I told him as much last night in that dream I had. So he's getting on in years though too. You can see more wrinkles on his face almost every day. I'm not sure if he's given up smoking or not. I think he was definitely a smoker for a number of years. What else do we got here? Let's see. Hopefully we haven't missed anybody, but Dana Shiver dropping by. I don't think she was on board here from the get-go. You know, Dana, you and Janie Walker, with your contributions via PayPal, you are able to qualify for a 1-hour chat conversation with none other than yours truly, Japhy Ryder. 1-hour conversation per month is what that manages to unlock with a $20 donation via PayPal. So you can just let that go by the wayside if you want, or you can actually reach out and we can connect here and have a bit of a chit chat. Throw any questions my way that you would like, and we can even record it and put it out in premium content fashion via Patreon if that's what you're up for. So the ball is in your court. We'll leave things at there. So, Mirrodin Wylet, it's a pseudonym I needed a few years ago, but not really now. My real name is Marty. Yeah. Isn't it interesting, though, with Facebook, not that I really have a problem, or I'm the sort of person that goes around reporting people for their strange names, but the fact is that you can get technically reported over on Facebook for not using your real name, as they put it, or legal name, or the name you were born with, even though maybe you've had a name change. And a lot of people do that. They use just nicknames or pseudonyms and the like. It's not a problem over on minds.com. You can be whoever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. And I think that's really important, actually, now that we mention it, this business of internet privacy, anonymity. I mean, there are a lot of goofy people out there, and I certainly, for one, don't, I'm not keen on having people stalk me, or, I mean, we already get enough harassment as it is from from all various quarters. Some because, covering the James Heydrich story, that was one. William Ramsey, that was another. People didn't want us talking about these strange murders, I guess, as they were. Others would like people to believe they're simply suicides. Bodies being found in rivers, for the most part. The smiley face killers. We got some definite trolls there on that front. And the only reason I can think that would be the case is that why would anybody bother if the story wasn't true? So something definitely going on there that would probably really blow a few people's minds if they were to learn the actual truth. Dana Shiver saying, hey, sounds like a plan, Japhy. All right. Well, I'm definitely game. And I'm a pretty busy guy, but when people are donating $20 to the cause, half of which, let's not forget, we didn't make this clear yet this go around. Most regular listeners will be well aware, of course. Just, check out the FAQ page and the like. But half of everything that we do manage to collect goes directly back to charity. For the most part, we set it aside in support of Operation Secret Santa. If you don't know what that's all about, click on the link up in the top menu pull down area, and you'll be able to hopefully get a clear sense of what we've been busy working with here the past number of years. It's something we got to stay on top of over the course of the spring and summer months even. Folks, we really, I hate to say it, but it's almost like, I don't want to come across as really too desperate, pathetic, or to the point where I'm begging, but we need your help. I don't know if that's the best way to put it. We'd appreciate your help. That's probably the best way to put that one out there. We don't need your. We'd love to have your support, yes. So, and we appreciate your support, but that needy business, yeah, a little too desperate. So definitely, I would not want to go there. Just in the same way that we don't like to talk about programming around here at all, other than criticizing the whole business of what that actually entails, why people need programming, why they can't have content that they can simply enjoy, and it's up to them what they're to make of things, rather than us here literally programming whoever stops taking the time to bother to tune in and check out what we have to offer. It's up to you, obviously, the listener, to decide what you are to make of things, what you feel is best for you. Something the government does not want to, in all too many instances, unfortunately. Washington State, California, I heard as well, too. Mandatory that people now wear masks out in public, although I did hear that California, there's even a few rebels still left in that region of the United States as well, too, which was refreshing to hear. People defying orders. Who knows? I'd imagine the jails could be, if they went that far, fining people, I suppose. Yeah, going out and writing tickets all day long, which is something where I guess, if that was myself who had been presented with a ticket for not wearing a mask in public, would just take it to court. You want to really plug up the court system, well, there you go. That's what happens when bad laws are in place. One of the things that happens. We'd like to do a show on bad laws. If we could find an author out there, someone who's written a book dealing with bad laws, that'd be great, of course. Speaking of which, we've got a lot of great guests coming up over the coming weeks and months. We're always working on doing what we can to book more, of course, too, to stay on top of things. Laura Corvino returning to the fold here in a feature guest context this coming Friday, followed up by the first week of July. I hope I said Laura Corvino. And then Laura Lee Potvin. So isn't that interesting, the two names going together the way they do? 3 women in a row, actually, as feature guests. It just happened to work out that way. So something we're always open to. And apparently the women are as well, too. So that is joining us here and just engaging in quality conversation for the approximate 90-minute block of time that we set aside each and every Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 out on the East Coast. Tuesdays and Friday nights. Tuesdays, of course, news. Wednesdays is our Friday night feature event. If you're living in Asia, Tokyo and Seoul time zones, that's 12 p.m. noon. Mark it off on your calendar. Be sure to drop by. Be sure to engage yourself, whether it's here in the comment section or elsewhere. Just taking a look here. I think we might have... Well, let's go. Why don't you jump in there, Reverend Jim? You're saying something here. You just added a story in the chat area via Skype a couple minutes ago. Holistic Doctor's Death Series 60 Dead. Why don't you speak a little bit to that for a couple minutes, if you would? And then, as a matter of fact, hang on, just let me look. Let's get ready for this after we come back from the break. I'm going to cue up the Red Dragon herbs and teas promotional spot we have here, and we'll return on the flip side to hear from Reverend Jim and hopefully others, including taking into account all the further comments you have to share with us. The second hour of this week's live streaming event, World Pirate Radio News, show segment number 104.
Catering exclusively to the Des Moines, Iowa area and beyond, Red Dragon Herbs and Teas is a small, family-owned business dedicated to the creation of only the finest quality artisan herbal tea blends. Drawing upon many of the world's most richly established customs and traditions, Red Dragon Herb's mission is about more than just getting their products out to the market. They also strive to help educate their customers on the wider benefits, history, and folklore of all their plants. Of course, any seasoned pirate knows when they're fixin' to tango with the Kraken, you best be powered up with at least one of the finest select quality premium items, freely offered via Red Dragon Herbs and Teas wide inventory. Choosing from any of their caffeine-free, headache relief, or rest and relaxation blends, history has proven their products among the best sources of scurvy prevention and vitamin supplementation. Red Dragon Herbs and Teas, bringing you guaranteed homegrown health relief.
Red Dragon Herbs and Teas, bringing you guaranteed homegrown health relief. Once again, we're going to, by the way, if anybody heard that, let's hit the mic again. If anybody heard that sound, that wasn't maybe what you thought it was. To me, it sounded like it could have been something, but something or another. I was adjusting my glasses, actually. Believe it or not, having to wear reading glasses for the past, not quite 10 years, I guess. So I know some people, glasses are a part of their lives from their childhood, but thankfully myself, not the case. It's really something too with these, with Koreans. I've noticed, it's amazing. I don't know if it's a DNA thing or part of the culture, but, sometimes they need glasses for reading, but when they're done reading, they continue to have glasses on just to wear them normally. Rather than, as a lot of Westerners do, we take them and put them up on our forehead. On, I guess, what would you say, the crown of our head? That kind of deal, resting them there. Just no Koreans ever do that, even though they don't need them anymore because they're finished reading, or they can see everything fine as it is without the glasses. It must be something to do with their genetics. Clearly. No, just a cultural thing. Nobody's ever shown them anything differently. It's never caught on. Whereas in the West, monkey see, monkey do. Hang on. In Korea, it's a question of monkey don't see, monkey don't do. Go ahead, Jim.
Isn't Korea one of those nations where, like, you don't pat little kids on the head? That things like that's looked down upon. No, no. Actually, as a teacher, that's one of the things you can kind of get away with, because it shows, as far as touching kids, right, that you kind of like just give them a little kind of stroke their hair and tell them, oh, good job, good job, that sort of thing, like kind of helping to boost their ego or make them feel comfortable and confident, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's the extent of things. But maybe you're thinking Japan? Oh yeah, that could be. I know, like in the Philippines, or it's like common here in the States is to use your fingers, say, "Hey, come here," you're with your fingers up. But in the Philippines, that's how you call dogs. If you want a person to come near you, you put your fingers down and use like the whole hand to do like almost a paddling, scooping type motion. Hey, come here.
That's Korea too. That's Korea as well with taxis. You put your hand down and wave it towards yourself, your fingers.
Yeah.
Or people.
I
you do it.
Was a little strange.
You do it with people too. It's just a different culture. Where did it come from? Is it something that God has ordained, or that their government has dictated to them? I think an anthropologist would have a thing or two to say about that, as far as tracking back the origins of these things. So it's a good point, of course, and it's one of those things that makes me scratch my head and wonder. Language is a big thing for me, as you know, and I have tracked back and traced. I can see patterns and linkages between Sanskrit, Korean, and English on a multitude of fronts. I don't really want to get into it now. Suffice it to say that, encourage people to do their own homework. If you want to join us in some kind of chat, as like with Dana Shiver, who she is someone who comes at things from a Druidic tradition, so I'm kind of stoked to have the opportunity to speak to her, but find out a little more what that's all about, including the fact of us potentially even booking a druid at some point, an author or someone who can really kind of give us the goods, as it were. I'm, backing things up though to the language end of it all. That always makes for great conversation, but I'd really rather not get too distracted with that whole thing at this particular moment. Mostly because we're trying to focus on the news. And I want to say, just before we get too far carried along the way here, and I know you want to get into just as brief as possible because it's a huge issue, although maybe the two do intersect now that I think of it, Jim. Does anyone out there listening remember the passing of Tracy Twyman? Investigative, alternative, parapolitical researcher. She was pretty bright and she was pretty capable. Although I think she did not protect herself as well as she could have, from what I understand, from what very little I understand. We almost had we did have the opportunity to have her on the show as one of our early guests a number of years ago, which was maybe within the first 10 shows that we did. As a matter of fact, she was someone who I thought, wow, definitely like to talk to. Alas, it was not to be. That was still at the point where I was trying to get my head wrapped around the whole time business, the time zones, and she was confused on her end, and it all kind of, I think we were trying to pre-record, and it fell apart, and then she ended up getting back to me talking about how she was having some problems on the home front, almost to the point where it sounded like domestic type issues. I don't really know if it was abuse per se, although my kind of gut feeling seemed to really lead me in that direction. But if there's anyone out there who has a clearer sense of what happened, how it was that she was found dead, under what particular set of circumstances, whether it was clearly a suicide or a murder or something made to look like a suicide, there was no reason for her really to have left us at such a young age. I mean, she was only, I think she was 40 years old? Super, super bright, intelligent, extremely articulate, well-read, well-researched, and she was someone who managed to connect a lot of the dots on an occult, esoteric, coded level. Something that which for a lot of others, just such as ourselves, that maybe we struggle with a little more. We're able to kind of see a few things from time to time when it comes right down to it. But yeah, so I just made a note of that because it's only been about a year, not quite a year now, since her passing. She was someone who, on my way home last night on the bus, once again via this out of town gig, I was listening to a podcast with her on the Occulture show, and just such a tragic loss, and so I don't know how suicidal she was exactly, but as I said, a few years prior, in conversing with her, trying to work on getting her to come onto the show, and I was surprised actually with how open she was for someone that I didn't really even know, and had not met up until that point. But yeah, and she Boyd Rice, as one of her first, I guess, serious, what is the word, paramours, partners. And, if people look into his backstory, not exactly the greatest reputation, I guess. Very much from the dark side, the left-hand path, so on and so forth. What she talked about in the Soul Culture show, though, just last night, was having fake book friends who, over a number of years, after which it turned out were not such friends to begin with, really. That they were fakers, posers, people who maybe had cozied up to her as a means of keeping an eye on what she had to put out, what she had to offer. Who's really to say? Things like that. And also just people within the real world, as it were, IRL, in real life, flesh on flesh kind of deal, pressing the flesh with others in person. So similar set of circumstances, unfortunately. But yeah, most curious to know if there's anyone else out there who has heard anything further, and if they do remember her passing from almost a year ago now. It's something I'd like to bring up again over the next few weeks, see if we can better get to the bottom of things. I know there's a tie-in with Isaac Japhy and this whole pedogate business. And she was receiving, at the time of her death, she was receiving supposedly like multiple death threats. And she wasn't too clear, though, unfortunately, talking about people who were using the real names, and she had no reason to suspect they weren't who they were saying they were, using their real names and issuing, not so highly veiled death threats. Things along those lines. And, once again, Isaac Japhy, I'm not sure if she'd interviewed him or she was looking into his, what he had to put out to the world, along with the circumstances under which he was found to have died. And which does remind me, it brings me back to what we talked about last week. Where is Tom Hanks? A lot of people asking that question now, apparently. Where is he? He's kind of just apparently disappeared, fallen off the radar. Is he dead or alive? Is he in hiding? Same thing with Bill Gates now. Some people are wondering. He's taking a bit of a break from plastering his face all over social media out there, trying to do what he can to promote his cause and to try to sell his vision and version of reality. Doesn't want you to know too much about HCQ, of course, hydroxychloroquine. That's hashtag, folks, HCQ. If you know of anyone who does come down with COVID for whatever reason, there's a 90% chance if they get themselves shot in the ass with a load of this anti-malarial drug, also works for lupus and other maladies. There's a 90% chance, though, that by the next day or two, they will be completely COVID-19 free. Not something I would imagine the likes of Bill Gates and others who are out there promoting their vaccines want too many people to know about, presumably. So, anyways, you were going to say something, Jim, about holistic doctors. They're not really something I've heard too much about as of late. I know, same as with the investment bankers, there was a real rash of these deaths all clustered together, and then suddenly nothing. And another occupation which seems to be rather hazardous to people's health at times is this microbiology, which is exactly what we're finding now with these, what are they, level 4, not institutions or agencies, but facilities, really, level 4 research facilities. These microbiologists, people go back and look in the historical internet archives, best place to embark on this sort of investigative journey, inquiry. I would say that, they're all clustered together. The microbiologists, dead. Strange clustering. Then a strange clustering of investment bankers. And then a real big strange clustering of they're known as naturopaths or natural healers, Jim? What's the deal there?
Naturopathic doctors, holistic doctors, a lot of them were chiropractors. It started, Erin Elizabeth, who's the reporter on that for the link that I dropped, it started with Dr. Bradstreet, who was found in a river down in Florida, supposedly suicide. His family didn't believe it, had it investigated. It's since been ruled murder. Well, the same thing happened with a doctor up here in Spokane, Washington. He was found dead in a river by a shotgun blast, and it was ruled suicide, but no, there's no way. There's been a whole bunch of this. The title of the article, or the headline, is dated. It's now over 100 holistic doctors have been murdered in the last couple of years, including the millionaire couple out of Canada that ran a generic pharmaceutical company, and they were at war with the big name pharmaceuticals, and it was ruled either a double suicide or a murder suicide. The family said no way, had it properly investigated, and it's been ruled a murder. And Erin, I believe Erin is doing one now on the researchers that have also been mysteriously ending up dead, because it hasn't just been holistic doctors, it's also researchers and reporters. There was a lady that was taking thousands of signatures to Washington, D.C. To give to Congress, and she was found mysteriously floating face down in the swimming pool of the hotel that she was in D.C. before she could deliver the petitions and the signatures. So yeah, there's a whole bunch going on. Big Pharma is the largest contributor to Congress, over big oil, over the industrial military complex. Big Pharma produces or contributes more in lobbyists and basically illegal contributions to Congress than any other lobbying group. And if that doesn't tell you who really controls what's going on, I mean, you look at any mainstream media television program and count the advertisements for some new drug that, you got to have, ask your doctor. It doesn't matter that the list of potential side effects is sometimes longer than the benefits they list. That's okay. Just ask your doctor about this drug. It's ridiculous. We need to do something about it. And that's, each individual doctor's death, it's a long read. That article is long, and unfortunately, it keeps getting added to. The doctor's deaths were coming in like threes, There'd be one found dead, and then next thing you know, within a couple of days, there's 2 more found dead. Aaron and somebody else started doing reporting on it, and the deaths seemed to have slowed down, but the researchers' deaths started picking up. So we honestly feel that they have a hit squad out there, big pharma, and we know that Merck and Monsanto both had hit squads. You know, supposedly they were just slander squads. Well, were they? Were they just going out slandering, trying to, dirty people's names? Or were they true hit squads? Because we're talking millions and millions every year in profits for these guys, up to billions. So would they take out people that speak against them? I think so. And the evidence is pretty much right there if you just want to take a look at it. And the only trouble is exactly who's doing it. It's crazy. It really is. People don't realize how bad the real picture is. They see little bits of it, and you can say, well, yeah, that's the cabal, or that's the New World Order, or this, that. No, it's all. They have their fingers in every frigging pie. We are dealing with some nasty little spiders that have their web everywhere. And that's what people really don't grasp. It boils back to the good versus evil. And unfortunately, the evil's in control. Okay, well, so, I could bring up some of the articles. I could bring up some of the articles that Aaron's written about. Here, let me bring this up. Started with, well, here, let's just listen to Aaron. Oh, it's not going to play? All right, what's going on? No, it's not going to play. I don't have a volume on here. All right. We'll do it this way. She wrote this. She started this series in 2015. It says, on Father's Day 1 year ago, the beloved Jeffrey Bradstreet was found dead in a river with a gunshot wound to his chest. She was honored to do the first interview with the Bradstreet family from Boston, who commented on the bravery as they searched for answers. They hired private investigators and wanted to get to the bottom of the investigation was concluded that Jeffrey Bradstreet did not commit suicide. He was murdered, without a doubt. Other families are coming forward to have hired their own investigators, including Dr. Marshall's wife, who's an MD. Her investigators believe that her husband was murdered in a setup staged by someone in law enforcement or with military training, story linked in the timeline below. And you remember the holistic doctor murdered by the policeman in Minnesota? She's listed in this series. More families are hiring investigators because they are not buying the official accounts given by local law enforcement. A most prominent doctor has told me that their local law enforcement is considering the death and is talking with the FBI. That's a start. Since so many of these doctors and few researchers I include in this unintended series were fathers, I wanted to honor them today on Father's Day. I finally agreed to be a producer in a film being made on the subject, but we still have a long ways to go. And there is a trailer. I could link it. The more we share with this tragedy with others, the better chance we have at making progress. The fact that a few law enforcement is even talking to the FBI is encouraging. I appreciate the few media organizations who have had the guts to share these stories. The New York Times, who wrote me requesting info, the Independent UK, the network affiliates, around the U.S. Most mainstream sites barely cover one doctor's if a connection does exist. There have been theories from GC Math, because Dr. Bradstreet was working with GC Math, to CBD oil, but I don't think all doctors use both treatments. I'm not convinced either if it's the smoking gun, but one or both might be part of the answer. Several unsolved murders and some alleged suicides all still under investigation. I sincerely hope answers are found and we can use several of these amazing doctors personally. We need to know the truth. Her boyfriend is Dr. McCullough. So the woman doing this reporting, Erin Elizabeth, her boyfriend is Dr. McCullough. And he runs the #1 alternative, ultimate health site on the web. If you're looking for, other advice from other than your doctor, go to Dr. McCullough.
Yeah, there's some of the top biggest names out there in natural health alternatives, Erin Elizabeth and Dr. Mercola. So Meriden Wilet, and we do have a distressed cat on board here. People might be able to hear it in the background. Hopefully he quiets down eventually. There's a dog that has got his interest and his ire raised now, unfortunately. Usually pretty good during the live streams, but sometimes there's also construction and people making noise outside that get to him. But anyways, hopefully that doesn't bleed into the show too badly. But Mirden Wilet, lots of great comments, and we are trying to still get in touch with you here. Not sure if you go by the handle Merlin on Skype or not, but we did find someone with that name, Mirden Wilet, aka Merlin, on Skype. So funny how only naturopath doctors are so accident prone and can somehow shoot themselves multiple times in the back of the head. Kind of it's a Gary Webb type scenario, unfortunately. Janie Walker talking about how one of the healthy holistic docs in New York, Dr. Gonzalez, met an untimely death. He was Suzanne Summers' doc when she had breast cancer. He also treated a friend of mine with pancreatic cancer, extended his life several years. Yeah, pancreatic cancer is really, that's a tough one to have. I think my grandmother had it, so I'm definitely on the lookout for that. It's something which, here in Korea, it's a huge crime. You were talking earlier about, well, one of the things that comes to mind, Jim, with what you were bringing up are truth and reconciliation hearings is really what I am calling for. And I don't see why more people don't, why we don't have more of a unified voice on this front. And going back as well, too, there was back now quite some time. I think the point I was going to make earlier had to do with the alt-right, with the way that so much, including things like the alt-right, these are completely, according to this one podcast I was listening to last night on my way back into town, is that completely socially engineered. And, who came up with the term alt-right? And from that point, that they're used in the dialectical Hegelian fashion to find themselves juxtaposed, serving as a counterpoint of sorts to outfits such as Antifa, of course. Then you I guess, what is the expression? Playing the two off the middle kind of deal to ultimately serve your interests so you can work out an order out of chaos type political agenda. But yeah, I'm not sure if you want to jump in there, if I made any sense, and because I just kind of, between the comments here and what I was sharing with respect to the alt-right and the comment I made before that, if there's anything that you can pick up on, Reverend Jim, but feel free to do so if you so desire. But pancreatic cancer, I guess, was partly what I was going on about. That's I guess what I was saying. It's a crime in Korea. You talk about, it's not legally a crime, but it's a moral crime. It's an ethical crime where they have people where they offer substandard medicines and drugs as means of treating and healing various peoples for various maladies. So very, once again, this cat is a little, jump up, come on, jump up. Good boy. There we go. Maybe he'll settle down now if you can jump up here. Give him some loving. So there we go. Oh, and he's off again. He's gonna have his own way, do his own thing. There we go once again, though, as far as the comments are concerned. Pretty much, that's right, Jane E. Walker. Several years ago, cluster of microbiologist deaths, indeed. Honey and Barry Sherman are the names of the two. Those are the folks out of Ontario that I believe you were referencing earlier, Jim. I thought that was kind of like an inside job from the way it was framed up in the media, that had to do something with potential, cui bono kind of deal. Yeah, you could say it would be the big drug companies with, to some respects, as far as the competition was concerned. But also there may have been a son or family member involved who felt that if he had these two individuals, I guess his parents, eliminated, that he would suddenly be able to inherit all of their wealth, their fortunes, and the like. So that's, as I recall it, that was the deal. I might be totally mistaken, though, but we'll just have to leave it to the listeners to further track down what they can, get to the bottom of things, maybe set me straight if that's not the case, or if it is, share some kind of confirmation of the fact, and we can take it from there.
I haven't really heard that part of it, so I could say if that was part of it. I know it was the family, the children, that hired the private investigators to look into it because they did not buy the official story.
Okay, what was the official story?
That it was either a double suicide or it was a murder suicide, that the husband killed the wife and then killed himself. The family said there's no friggin' way they wouldn't have done that.
They were in love. They were very close. They were just a very loving couple and enjoyed their lives. And they
loved what they did. They loved being a generic pharmaceutical company that was actually trying to do good things for the world. And he even admitted, there's articles where he was at war with Big Pharma.
How about that? How about that?
They were his enemy. He was their enemy.
How about that? Well, then we got to stay on top of this and keep hammering away, because it's people like this that their memories cannot simply... It's up to us as voices from the underground, Fifth Estate, live streaming, independent, online, open sourced, underground intelligence nodes. Really, it's our duty, our sacred dharma, some might even say, to do our job here, and as much as a public service as what it is that we represent and offer, because we're not, we're just working to pay our bills here, frankly, and to cover operating expenses, even in our 5th year. And that's why donations, of course, are always so very much appreciated. Coming to us via the likes of Dana Shiver, Janie Walker, and others. Have to forgive me if I'm missing out on anyone present moment. There have been a little bit in the way of Minds tokens. Reverend Jim, I know you've been helping out on that front, so that's really great. But and even just the sharing of the links, that's why it's so critical to keep these channels of communication open. It's the very reason, you can see it clearly, why the governments of the world, Trudeau and others, are being pressured to shut outfits such as ours down, because even though we don't reach huge numbers of folks, that we're providing all too many times a counter narrative that challenges the official line, and that just does not go over too well at all when they are trying to essentially hoodwink the public in so many instances. So people want to look into it. Yeah, Trudeau's Minister of, what department? The Heritage Minister of all people, if you can believe that, working to, oh God, don't let me forget about this picture here either, the former New York State Attorney General. He was probably the guy that we had managed to rattle his cage, believe it or not. And Pirate Joe, I don't think ever mentioned his name, but just a picture popping up on the screen there of him, pretty chummy with George Soros' son. And people might be able to take a look at that there in the slideshow. And that's exactly the reason why we're here, why we're doing this, and why we appreciate your support in whatever manner or fashion it happens to occur. So it's a story that I really want to get clearer on then, Jim. So if there's any further details or light that you can bring to the conversation over the coming weeks and months, because and Tracy Twyman, again, their lives ought not be forgotten. I'd like to know under what particular set of circumstances she was found, what the official ruling is. The families at the time of her death asked for privacy, I guess, as it were. Now, could this have been possibly that it was, an inside job, that the very people who were asking for privacy had a hand in things? It wouldn't be the first time something like that had been known to occur. So, as it is, I have no idea, other than the fact that she had been receiving death threats, and that she had been investigating Pedogate, and she had been looking into the passing of Isaac Cappy, and so on and so forth. So, was she suicidal? I don't know. But it certainly doesn't help when you don't do anything, and this is as her family in particular, whoever that actually entails, don't do what you could to better shed light on the situation. It especially does not look good, the optics to things, when she was to have been a guest on her show, as I was saying earlier, a number of years prior, and at that time even had, just with a total stranger from behind the scenes, and I didn't report on it or share this information until she had died, but there had been some, what seemed like domestic You could say maybe abuse, violence, some domestic turmoil that she was having to contend with on some front, and presumably with her life partner. The comment was made not only Boyd Rice, who she parted ways with apparently a good many years ago, but that she was not someone who was able to choose her men wisely. She had this constant problem, I guess, with hooking up with all the wrong guys, that were just simply not good for her for whatever reason. But yeah, that's what we're here for. And as much as it might get to and bother the likes, or infuriate, you could even say, to that level, because these people, they do sometimes completely lose it. But the former Attorney General of New York State, I know we had a link here, we're bound to find it in just a moment or two, but he stepped down, I think, just a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact. If I'm not mistaken, he just a pretty stereotypical type Jewish name. Why can I not find this here? I have all kinds of other great stories, including Danny Masterson of That 70s Show being charged with 3 counts of rape. Coming to us courtesy of AngelEspino.com. Thank you, Angel, for blogging that. There was a pastor in Australia recently found not guilty of sexual assault at Canberra Church, even though the evidence was overwhelming. There was some procedural issue that had played a part in supposedly leading the judge to issue that non-guilty decision. Pedophiles now set potentially to be jailed for life in accordance with new laws out of the UK. That's a problematic one. There's obviously, like, serial pedophiles are one thing, clearly, yes, but then it's a slippery slope, folks. I mean, really, as much as some people might not like to hear it, it's definitely a slippery slope. You got some people where it's like, what do you mean pedophilia? What do you do? What's going on? We need the details, please. So, but serial repeat offenders, obviously. But anyways, the likes of James Heydrich, classic example. Look at the particulars of his case. I mean, for crying out loud. Back in 2013, after having served out his prison sentence, this is while being kept confined at the Coalinga Civil Detainment Facility. I think I got that straight. Under this nonsensical violent sexual predator statutes or laws. Preventative detention. We're keeping you here for something we think you might do at some point, someone, someplace, somewhere, somehow, maybe, because of these trumped up charges that you had to face and serve prison time for all these years ago. It's it's crazy. People look into the case. And so he was set to be freed in 2013. The ruling came out in favor of his freedom, 10-2. And because of California, the way things are in 20 states with these laws, these civil detainment laws, preventative detention, that I guess it had to be a unanimous decision. Couldn't be 10-2 or even just a majority ruling. 10-2. 10 people on that committee or jury had ruled in support of letting him be set free. So that's the sort of thing which, once again, And allegedly, the molestation that is said to have occurred was in front of like 500 people at a martial arts tournament. You know, and it was a standard kind of deal where you athletic kind of rub down, for crying out loud. It's a standard thing, which I can understand. You know, because you've got to do what you can to keep your muscles loose and limber and so on and so forth. And it's a part of the friggin' culture, for crying out loud. If I'm pretty sure, you know, I only spent a little time practicing martial arts, Taekwondo, primarily back in the day, and of course, it stands to reason. It's like, yeah, you go ahead, just don't touch me there, you know. So in front of 500 people, really? Ridiculous. So those are the sort of cases and examples. And even the California, some people within the legal system, as it were, the bureaucracy and the like, they did support the idea of looking at things on a case-by-case basis, which to me makes total sense. Case-by-case basis. If it was a truly more just system in place, you would have that. But no, it's all about the Benjamins, folks, on which, while on the surface, they tried to convince you, oh, it's all about public safety. Even though this is only in 20 states, they have these ridiculous laws. They let the gangbangers walk free, apparently, was what we were told after we wrapped up this interview with James. So, yeah, they're really worried about public safety, are they? Right. Why they let the gangbangers walk free? It's because they come into the places like that and they cause too much trouble. You know, they don't want to deal with that. So, well, served out your prison sentence. Well, we'll just kind of let you go. I'm going to share that link right now, as a matter of fact, while we're going at it right here. You know, some of you might disagree as well too, and I understand. But at the same time, I'm going to share the link here via BitChute to what we put together, in case you have not checked out the show that we did with James Heydrich. We've shared it there, actually, just in Facebook just a few moments ago. We're going to put it out here via why is the Restream not coming up? There we go. We'll share it via Restream. And it's something that we were working on, actually, for quite a while behind the scenes, cleaning up the talk we had about a month or so ago with James. And listeners will remember we had to use the speakerphone to actually connect with him, because we were making that long distance call from Korea to California. So that's one of the reasons we had to import what we had, just the raw audio, which is still up there on YouTube. But we took that, cleaned it up, balanced out all the levels, worked a little more audio magic as best we could to get the optimal sound, and altogether cut the conversation down by about almost, at least, I think, 15 minutes, if you can believe that. So it's a lot cleaner, sounds a lot better, and it's a lot easier to listen to. The guy has an amazing story, mind-blowing. Why there's been no documentary put together covering him or political prisoner John Ford, I have no idea. Movies, books, we're waiting. You know, if I was in a position where I could do that, say with a budget of around, hell, you could say $1 million, say $100,000. I most certainly would, you know, get the right people there, boots on the ground, do what they could to actually to talk to these people and ask, why is it that the powers that be are making it so difficult for them to connect with the outside world? Why essentially they are being held incommunicado, especially the likes of UFO political prisoner John Ford, but even, yes, James Heydrich. And there's so many others too, who, if you look at the details, particulars of the cases, final analysis scenario, it all really seems to come down to one simple thing: money. And the fact they're being warehoused. They are victims of the system. It was time for them to be set free a long while ago. And why it was that you had so many people, because of this COVID-19 business, released, I don't know if that was the best decision to make at all. Jim, did you hear about that with this COVID-19 business? And there were a lot of really dubious, kind of questionable characters, I guess, who were set free, essentially, allowed to, I mean, you wonder why there's all this rioting, looting taking place, so forth. Those are things that are bound to happen anytime you, how much they were involved in things, I don't know, but...
the hypocrisy is so great, because we're all supposed to be locked down in our houses for safety purposes. Well, aren't these criminals locked down in their houses where they'll be safe from the disease? So letting them out, no, and it was just the Democratic communist governors that did that. You don't find any Republican governors doing that.
Right.
It's part of the agenda. It really was. They knew that, hey, we let these suckers out, and then we caused this other crap to happen. And let's see what happens. Hey, the governor or the mayor in Seattle finally said, because they had their third shooting again up in Chaz. I refuse to call it by the name they want now. It'll be Chaz forever. The mayor has decided she's got to send the police back in to reclaim their precinct. I think that's funnier than hell.
Oh, wow. So hold it. So, yeah, that was something we were going to report on as well, too. There was already a shooting just the other day. That didn't last. That didn't take too long, did it?
There's been 3 shootings in Chaz now.
Yeah. So, but one death, and what about the other? Are they going to? So, of course, it's an autonomous zone. All the shooting, they got to be treated on the premises. They can't leave, of course, because they got to stick to their guns and be treated there within the context of premises where they find themselves. Yes.
Well, sadly, Overlake Hospital's there, and Swedish Hospital is just right down the road from there. So, sadly,
well, you don't want to be taken to, but that's an outside zone. They don't recognize that. That's why they're there. They're inside this Chaz autonomous zone because they believe in the sovereignty of the region, and so everything, all the food, all the medical, all the garbage disposal, all the currency, all the defense end of things. It's almost like a new country that they're trying to give birth to inside America.
Well, that's why if I was Seattle City Light, I'd cut the power off. If I was Seattle Water, I'd cut their water off. They can walk down to Lake Washington and draw water out of the lake if they need it.
They're dominated by Democrats or Republicans. Let me guess. In that
Democrats,
like a big time.
Oh yeah, our governor's Democrat, the mayor of Seattle's Democrat.
Exactly.
And Capitol Hill, in case you didn't know, Capitol Hill is the gay zone is the official gay zone of Seattle. So there are other little pockets where you can find the freaks, but the main freaks are there on Capitol Hill.
So gay. That's where all gay zone. Well, hold it. You mean everybody's really happy then? That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, they're just a totally happy group, with
Isn't that interesting too?
Daddy issues and all that good stuff to go along with the vaccine injuries. And that's what most of it is. I do feel sorry for some of these people that are mentally, sexually messed up because it's the vaccine injuries that cause that, along with the chemicals, the
bisphenol.
Yes, and so it's not totally their fault, but they should be smart enough to learn, but they won't, and that's sad. And what it's going to come to, I think it's going to get ugly. I really do. I think this is going to get a lot uglier before it gets any better.
Outcast here, a new arrival via YouTube. Welcome aboard. Talking about good point and connection. Now, I'm not sure who he's referring to exactly here, but the more that is coming to light, the chaos right now seems to be anything but natural. Fully funded and organized. Deep state communist syndicate coup we are witnessing. And that's one of the reasons we hashtag today's show, finally, New World Order, NWO. We'd had that COVID 1984 hashtag in place for a while. We're not really coming up exactly at the top of the YouTube search results for, unfortunately, for whatever reason. Every time they send us a little query via YouTube, how well do you understand the way your channel is functioning, operating at the current time? It's like, all the way from 1 to 5 kind of deal, middle of the road moderately, and we just go for 2, slightly. 1 is not at all. I'm just like, it's not at all, slightly. So just to keep doing that slightly. But our numbers are going up thanks to you folks out there helping to spread the word. It's a competitive environment, of course, to be able to stand out from the rest of the crowd. Our philosophy here, though, of course, is to be so bloody good they can no longer ignore you. That's what we're really trying to accomplish here. We believe that's central to our recipe for success, along with the fact of welcoming on board a lot of colorful characters, people, voices, personalities who are really from the underground, independent, up and coming, little known stories that warrant greater coverage and reporting. So once again, thank you to everyone who has been sharing the links. Hope you'll continue to do so. Remember to subscribe, hit those notification buttons, that and then check back and see that they haven't just strangely, mysteriously, magically undone what you've tried to sign up for, essentially. And do remember, speaking of sign up, WPRPN.com is the place you want to drop by. Sign up is free. There's other levels to what we have in place as well too, but for the time being, that's nothing really to worry about, the subscription end of things. Shout out from Marty. Looks like that's Mirrodin Wylet. Okay, join us here via YouTube as Marty, Mirrodin Wylet over on Facebook. So that's really great. Oh, and we have Inside the Jackal's Head. So, yeah, thanks, Angel. We've already given you a shout-out with respect to the syndication support you do provide and offer here in conjunction with our live stream. Yourself, Reverend Jim, of course, over on D-Live and the World Enlightenment Radio Network. Sometimes I get that mixed up, don't I? Global Enlightenment Radio Network. Why? Yeah, one of the two. They're bound to work. So you think I would be clear on that by now? Daryl and Katie's project is basically what we're looking at there. Angel with psn-radio.com. We've got about, I don't know, maybe another 10 minutes or so, frankly, working on winding things down. We've been at it here for 2 hours and a little change. 2.25 hours, really, I guess is what you would say in proper English. That's one of the things as well, too, living overseas as an expat, someone who I've got very little chance as things go to engage other foreigners with the level of English that we typically work on producing here twice a week, Tuesday and Friday nights, Or if you're in the East, of course, that's Wednesdays and Saturdays, 12 p.m. noon. So it's always an adventure. It's always a challenge. And it's always a lot of fun. So having a great ride here. If there's any last thoughts people would like to get out to let the world know, links and so forth, feel free. We'll try to do what we can here to just take a look at things in the tabs here as far as YouTube and the like is concerned. You know, we hadn't even brought up YouTube. Kind of great. Look at our numbers have really been going up as far as subscribers are concerned. Up to almost 15 people now over on YouTube. So thank you, 15 people. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, questions, maybe grievances, we welcome everything, frankly. If you do have a gripe or want to bitch about something, try to just be a little cool about things, and chances are we'll be able to process that without too much difficulty. But Jim, we've only got a couple minutes here. Anything more that you would like our audience to maybe reflect upon until we are able to make it back for our next live stream coming up later this Friday night?
Well, just the latest update on the holistic doctor's deaths. The last two that Aaron reported on happened this year. One in March 12th of 2020, Dr. Brian Drake. And then the last one, Dr. 103, happened May 2nd. And that was Dr. Bing Liu, which is pretty interesting because he's 37, was discovered by Rouse Township Police in his home with gunshot wounds to his head, neck, torso, and extremities. According to a statement from the department, a second man identified as 46-year-old Ha Gu, and I'm probably massacring those names, but was found dead in his vehicle from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to reports. The University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine, the department where Bing worked, said he was on the verge of making very significant findings towards understanding the cellular mechanisms that underlie SARS-CoV-2 infection and the cellular basis of the following complications.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. How's that for another coincidence? So
that's number 3. That's number 103 in the holistic doctor's death. And I do believe Erin says there's a couple more she needs to put for the proper update. And she is doing a series on the researchers, the molecular biologists and whatnot, that have also started dying about this same time period, starting 2015 and going on. So interesting stuff there. Everybody stay safe. Thanks for hanging out, and guess we'll see you on Friday.
Thanks for that input, Jim. That is a great story, something we'd come across in the past, and I think may have only just briefly touched on. But it's important, to bring these stories up again and again. I often have been talking about the corruption within the context of America's Ivy League universities. It's gross. Operation Lurking Giant, folks. Good luck finding any information on this, even though it currently has been official reports now, courtesy of the FBI, who have been investigating. Maybe you have to contact the FBI directly and ask them, see if they have any files that have been made public. It's over $6.5 billion of graft, essentially. People seem to make a big deal out of this pay-to-play admissions scandal that swept up a couple pretty much no-name Hollywood personalities. I don't follow the Hollywood scene all that much these days, frankly. I've got my own. I'm more into the whole classics kind of deal, the bygone eras of what has been done throughout the years. Not too many of these new names really do it for me, but that being the case, as with the Nexium crowd too, let's not forget. But anyways, this, was it like Desperate Housewives or somebody off of one of those productions was part of a university admissions scandal where they were trying to buy off the admissions director. Well, and that made big news, didn't it? That was big news. But it pales. It's like a drop in the bucket, folks, compared to what's actually going on. This is called a limited hangout. Okay? Some of you out there definitely have heard the term limited hangout. You'll know what it means. It's exactly what I'm talking about. And you can either trust me, which I'd rather you not. I'd prefer you investigate, research, and then get back to us. Let us know. Have we somehow overstepped the mark? Or are we... Do you concur with essentially what we're talking about? Operation Lurking Giant. And to the tune of $6.5 billion of bribery money that's been reported via the FBI. No big media is talking about it. And this is all coming through, it's coming from abroad. Foreign entities, foreign outlets, foreign agencies. China, Saudi Arabia, and the OAE, along with miscellaneous number of unnamed Middle Eastern countries that have been implicated. China, Saudi Arabia, and the OAE, top of the list. I'd be interested to know if there's any, South Korean actors or actresses implicated, caught up in this, what appears to be something, would you call it a dragnet of sorts? The FBI, clearly, as with what we saw as well, too, with the arrest of Charles Lieber. Nobody's looking there for some reason. Well, a few of us are. We've been hammering away at this for weeks and months now, really, and continue to do so because we believe it's one of the biggest indicators of, a smoking gun, really, where the mainstream media is falling down on the job. They may have reported on it, some outlets, very few, briefly, from the outset a couple of months ago, but they've completely let it slide now and not bothering in the least to follow up on things. What did they call it now? That was another operation something or another. Bloody hell. Jim, do you remember what, Jesus, there was, you think I would be able to better recall, but Operation Lurking Giant, most definitely, with respect to the bribery admissions scandal, and that is huge. It goes hand in hand with what we're hearing about with respect to the Chinese takeover of Hollywood. Founded by, I guess, what were largely Jewish Freemasons. And who knows, maybe have they gotten to the point now where they want to kind of cash in their chips and hand things over to the Chinese Communist Party? It may be so. You can just imagine the sort of content we'll be seeing from here on in. I know there was a recent movie, Doctor Strange, where one of the actresses, kind of the androgynous, bald lady, mystic, magician, sorceress, what have you, initially had been cast as a Tibetan. It was to be a Tibetan character, play the role, but no, China can't have that. So they had her come in, I think, as I don't know, some other Asian nation or nationality of some sort. It just goes on, of course. When's the last time we've heard anything about Falun Gong or the organ harvesting program? Hopefully that doesn't get us X-tagged. I know we didn't turn the X-tag on this go-round, Jim, and I'm wondering if maybe... I think we had our stream... Last time I checked, everything was hunky-dory, but they're very sensitive about this sort of thing, including the fact that you don't say anything critical of China over on D-Live. So, going back to that Falun Gong Oregon harvesting show we did with Mitchell Gerber a couple months ago, I guess, just kind of ballparking things. We were shut down before we even launched that live stream. That's how on top of things they are. I suppose we sent them a tweet through Twitter for them to retweet us, which they sometimes do, and that's great. But yeah, there was no chance that was going to go over D-Live, not without this X tag, as they call it, because it might potentially offend somebody somewhere at some point, sometime, somehow, for some reason. It's just ridiculous. But no, of course, yeah, pirates largely stand for freedom of speech. Which reminds me, this whole pirate party business, people have to be on the lookout and on guard. I myself, I'm down with the whole pirate political party concept, but not where it's made entirely politically correct. That's a problem. I have a friend in Norway who became involved actually in the whole pirate party scene over there for about a week or two, and that's about all it lasted. He said it was too PC. So I'm concerned that's what we might be finding all around the world. And the way we do things here is pretty anarchistic, as it is anyways, in case people haven't noticed. Pretty much just free association, frankly, and voluntaristic principle, really, at the heart of things. And if people want to participate and take part, you do. And if you don't, well, that's fine as well, too. So there you go. But... there's a few items we didn't get to this week, including the fact that, well, we didn't talk too much about this taking a knee business, which I didn't even understand what that was all about for the longest time. Now I kind of get it. And if that's the case, then really these people out there, if they're not racist, should be taking 2 knees. Why is that? Because in America, from 2017 to the present, white people have been murdered by the cops at about a rate which is double that of blacks. I'll say it once again, just to be clear, and then ask ourselves, why is it that the media is not reporting on this? And if it was the other way around, I'd be saying that as well too. So this is not something that I'm saying to favor one side or the other. I mean, if it was Asians who were being murdered at twice the rate, we'd report on that too, but it's not. Apparently, according to the official statistics, it's around double the rate that whites have been murdered from 2017 to present by cops in America, if people really want to know the truth. So, you want to take a knee? Don't do that. Take 2 knees in support of doing what you can to express your disdain, your contempt, your outrage, if that's what you feel. Frame it however you like. People are not happy. The way that people, regardless of the color of their skin, frankly, are being murdered by cops in America and elsewhere. There's a new Batman coming up potentially here. It's said to be a gay-themed Batman, so people get ready for that. Hashtag Buttman. That's what some people out there can be looking forward to in the DC comic book animation world. I'm not sure how down with that whole concept communist China is going to be, but and Oxitec too, let's not forget. Bill Gates and these genetically modified mosquitoes, courtesy of Oxitec. If you've not heard about this, hashtag dump Gates. If there's anyone out there, speaking of which, who's handy with Linux, we run off of Linux here, and I do my best to run the show, to handle things, to see to it that the stream is in place, that we're all good to go. We have got our technical game together. It's not as easy as some might think. Let's put it that way. So we are looking for web tech support. If you are handy with Linux, it would not be any more than maybe a couple hours a month, if that. I've got it mostly, things are covered. It's just a little bit of house cleaning, kind of semi-routine upkeep and updating, and taking out the garbage from time to time, essentially. So nothing more than that. We could also offer, and we have in the past with other web tech people we've had support us, just modest stipends or gratuity, basically. So reach out to us, pyro1radio@protonmail.com, or any of the other show description, social media links you happen to find down in the YouTube link area. That's the way to go. That's how you can do it. That's what'll make everything fall into place, and work on further building up our network. So, hey, great to see the likes of the new people that have joined us here via this go-round, mostly in YouTube, a little bit over on Facebook as well too. Piratas de Dios, an old friend and fellow pirate matey, laying low for the time being, hopefully managing to enjoy the stream. We love you, Larry. We definitely we got your back here, and we are looking forward to talking to you here once again. Jennifer Knight, always good to see. She recently sent us a little guest suggestion for a potential upcoming show, so check your email, Jennifer. We'll see where we can take things from where they currently are. Sean, American Patriot, join us here courtesy of just happening to stumble upon the Michael Van Deven show that we put together a couple years ago. On the Fence with Musa, Dana Shiver. Who else do we got there? Outcast. A lot of great comments. Public Streaming Network Radio and TV. We should know who that is. Why do I not know? I should know who that is. Anyways, they dropped in there just to make their presence known, which is great. And Outcast had another great comment we didn't cover, which we should before we duck out of here, talking about why are states, mayors, and governors being allowed to essentially kneel and bow to an anti-American takeover? We are seeing full cities dying. What are patriots supposed to do? Masquerading invasion. Dana Shiver saying, prepare. All right. Okay. Geez, you folks really were busy this go-round, weren't you? And thank you once again for adding the PayPal email contact information, Dana. Force's sweetheart Dame Vera Lynn passing away at age 103. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when. That was a big song for the vets of World War II. Yeah, the White Cliffs of Dover. D-Day invasion. What a chapter of history that was. You talk about intense. And now people with this COVID business trying to put that in the same context or at the same level. Are you kidding me? Ian Holm, Bilbo Baggins, Lord of the Rings, dying at age 88. Great movies, great actor. And it's great that we have his efforts archived there now for time presumably immemorial. Think that pretty much covers it, folks. What we didn't get to this go round, we'll do what we can to pick up on. We catch you on the flip side. We'll be back here with Laura Corvino later this Friday night, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 on the East Coast. That's 12 p.m. noon in Tokyo and Seoul. Do keep in touch. It's what this whole thing is all about, folks. WPRPN. We got that Teespring store in place, too, with coffee mugs, T-shirts, and the like. Pirate Radio Podcast flagship to the wider WPRPN.com network, the People's Pirate Network, with half of everything we have coming in going directly back to support charitable causes. Hashtag WWRHD. What would Robin Hood do? On behalf of Captain Long John Sinclair and all the rest of the crew here aboard the Robin Hood, until we meet again out in the high digital seas, I'm your host, as always, the show's Chief Communications Officer, Japhy Ryder. Tally-ho.